amazing. A 40-pound vest. I can only imagine if it was 100 pounds, but it makes me want to do some movements and training. This is amazing. A 40-pound vest. I can only imagine if it was 100 pounds, but it makes me want to do some movements and training.
What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Mike Tyson and Deontay Wilder. Mike Tyson, of course, had this to say about Deontay Wilder. He said, with Deontay Wilder and his excuses, he said, it's just the process that we go through. It's going to be all right. From one destructive heavyweight knockout artist to another, Mike Tyson can relate to the current plight of former titleist Deontay Wilder. He said that's why he's not particularly concerned about the current path being traveled by the hulking heavyweight from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. He said, I had excuses for Buster Douglas too. Tyson laughed off during a recent interview on Inside Boxing. He said, that's just a process we go through. It's going to be all right. Now, a lot of people thought that Mike Tyson, because I've read a lot of comments about what Mike felt about Deontay Wilder and vice versa. You know, Mike has been where Deontay Wilder is at right now. And I think it is a natural thing. Just like Deontay Wilder admitted, like he was looking for like explanations, like what really happened, you know, what happened, what went wrong, what could possibly went wrong. So then you start to scramble and search for what could possibly happen. And I think that's what's happening now with Wilder. You know, if he found out what was wrong with him or not, I honestly 100% believe that he doesn't know everything that happened and all the defining factors of what happened February 22nd. But according to Mike Tyson, though, Mike Tyson's been there, okay? And he said he made excuses. He made excuses too. You listen to the excuses that was my Mike Tyson, to talk about Mike Tyson for a minute. And a lot of these were factors, honestly. But since the fighter talks about why he lost, it's an excuse, okay? Because excuses are for the losers. Okay, you guys know my credo. Okay, if you're a fighter and you lose a fight, the excuses are for the losers. You make no excuses. The better man won. That's what it is. That's what Wilder initially said, but he reneged his statements, his own statements. Okay, he took those words back. Okay, but back to Mike Tyson in Tokyo. What happened with that? For one, he didn't have a proper corner. He didn't. He had his homeboys. His homeboys didn't even know he was allergic to Vaseline. In fact, when his eyes started to swell, they put a glove, a cold glove, because they didn't have any ice in the man's corner on his head for the swelling. So they didn't have inswells. They didn't have ice. They didn't have anything. They had water, and the water, I guess, was cool or cold or whatnot, and they put that on his head. It was ridiculous. Right? The night before that, him and Mike Tyson and Bobby Brown allegedly had orgies and did cocaine allegedly in a suite or whatnot with several Japanese women. Okay, this is everything that was involved with that night. And Bobby Brown even mentioned, like, hey, we really need to, don't you have a fight tomorrow? And he's just like, oh yeah, I really do. So all those things happen at that point. He didn't have a corner. He was allergic to Vaseline, and there was Vaseline present, so that might have made the swelling worse. He didn't have ice for his swelling eye when he was getting caught with that jab from Buster Douglas. And he was on drugs, okay, in which he's already came out and which has been confirmed that Mike Tyson was a heavy drug user from the 80s, the 90s, and the early part of the 2000s. Okay, or at least the first decade of the 2000s. So, and he admitted to cheating on the drug test to avoid the drug use. Okay, so you know, a lot of people would look at that saying, well, hey, man, those are just factors of a person that had a crazy lifestyle. Maybe so. Maybe so. But Deontay Wilder, you know, with the excuses that we're hearing, I mean, it's just as bad. In fact, they're worse. Deontay Wilder doesn't have a drug problem. I don't even know of him being drinking. I never heard of Deontay Wilder being drunk. Did he have the wrong corner? I mean, he said that he had somebody that was manipulating his corner. If that was anybody, it would have been the person he didn't fire, in my opinion. But I mean, did he have inswells? Did he have ice? Did he have the proper training camp, or should I say the proper team that had the proper equipment to aid him? Yes, he did. You know what I mean? Did he do drugs in a high line with a bunch of multiple orgies of women with an R&B artist? No, he did not. Okay, so it's like a lot of things, but he did have the heavy costume. He was 10 pounds heavier. He felt weird. He couldn't explain why he was weird, and I don't think he really knows why he was weird to this day. I think the cop out, he threw Mark Breland under the bus because it seemed more convenient since he stopped the fight anyway. You know what I mean? But all that in my book doesn't mean anything. Okay, it doesn't mean anything but excuses to me because they lost. Okay, that's it. So it is what it is. Mike Tyson's been where Deontay Wilder's at, but at least Mike has understood that it was just an excuse. And that's what you do when you lose. You look for excuses. You look for reasons on why you lost besides the inevitable. And the inevitable was he was not prepared for the game plan of Tyson Fury. Now, of course, he doesn't want to tell you or wants to admit that Tyson Fury hit him with something that actually hurt him because the whole narrative was Tyson Fury couldn't punch. You know, but I think the cheating would be paramount. So who was in charge of him cheating? The guy that he didn't fire, once again. So we go back to that same thing, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day because if they didn't catch the man red-handed, how can they catch the man and prosecute the man for evidence that really wasn't there? Because if you don't have the gloves, that is what it is. You know, I just think it's more outlandish with the excuses, but excuses are excuses at the end of the day. You can call it what you want. You can say what he's going to do. You can go leaps and miles to try to cover up something that you may call an excuse and disguise them as reasonings and accusations. But at the end of the day, they're still excuses. And Mike he's like, yeah, you know, as he laughed. Listen to what he said. Tyson laughed off the recent interview. Okay, because he said, I had excuses for Buster Douglas too. But the truth of the matter is, Mike Tyson got his ass whooped. He got his ass whooped bad. Buster Douglas had a fight of his life. He had a parent that died. He was driven. Okay, so this is what shows you. And then the elements that be had nothing to do with Buster Douglas. Look, did Mike Tyson doing cocaine and drugs with Bobby Brown, did that have anything to do with the conditioning of Buster Douglas? No, it did not. In other words, on the other end, did Deontay Wilder coming in hit 10 pounds heavier or having a heavy costume, you know, or didn't feel right or whatever, did that have anything to do with the conditioning of Tyson Fury? No, it did not. The truth is a matter. The truth is what you see, and what you saw is you seen one man beat the shit out of another man. At least what I can say about Tyson, to say the least. I think Mike Tyson went out more like Joshua than Wilder. Why? Because Mike Tyson dropped Buster Douglas. Just like Joshua did. He dropped Andy Ruiz. Okay? At least there was some type of resistance. There was none in Wilder. Wilder hit him a couple times, but it didn't do anything. You didn't see a stumble, a buckle, or whatever. You didn't see any of that. I didn't witness that. I saw that fight too many times, and I looked for certain things in that fight. And what I did not see is Wilder showing us any time that he was going to come back and win. Okay? So, you know, but again, that just shows you the character of Mike, knowing he's an elder now, knowing that he's been there where these young fighters are, that's accustomed to knocking people out and knocking people in the next week and stuff like that. And, you know, like Deontay Wilder is one of those people. He's just learning from experience. And hopefully one day he can look back at all this and say, you know what? I lost. And it's okay. It's okay to lose. And I understand and respect what the fans are doing for him, or the people that call themselves fans of him. You know, I don't really call myself a fan of Wilder necessarily. I'm a supporter of Wilder because I respect him and I support him. I buy his fights. Okay? So I help put food on his table. You know what I mean? And I expect the best out of him, not the worst. Okay? Or the what's the word? The average. I expect more out of him because I think that he can learn hopefully one day, but it's going to be up to him at the end of the day if he wants to improve. And as far as he goes with boxing, if he's going to fight all these guys, I suggest he does it now because he's not getting any younger. But see, back to Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson acknowledges and knows, hey, you lost. You lost, you got beat, you weren't prepared for that guy, but hopefully you will in the next fight. So, you guys tell me what you think about Mike Tyson's comments towards Deontay Wilder. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.